guys have all seen this before, but this is so weird. Look at this thing. Like, this is the difference between 1 pound of fat and 1 pound of muscle. Weight loss does not necessarily mean fat loss. This client right here, guess what the weight difference is between these two pictures? 2 pounds. 2 pound difference. This is a 2 pound difference. So today we are going to talk about engaging your nutrition. So what I'm holding right here is a pill. And what would you guys say if I told you that nutrition science is so advanced and sophisticated that we figured out how to perfect your macros, how to perfect everything you needed to do, and all you needed to do was just take this pill, take it for breakfast, take it for lunch, take it for dinner. You never needed to cook, you never needed to meal prep, you never needed to worry about food again. What would you say? Yeah.
Maybe some days.
Still give you all the nutrition you needed. Why not? Why not?
I like
Because
food.
we love to eat. Last night we all went out to dinner. We broke bread together. Food is so important to life and relationships, and to eliminate that factor from it, nutrition kind of messes that up sometimes with all these pills and capsules and powders. Even though I own a supplement company and there's benefits to those things, but at the same time you can't take the human element out of it. Food is so much more than that. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is to relearn how we see food, how we look at food, and to use a different lens and a different set of eyes to look at food in a way that we can relate to ourselves, because food is so important. Because of that, that's why I'm so big on making sure everything's custom and things that will work for you. Because if you sign up for anything, if you never deal with dietary training again, if you sign up for anything that's just going to make you miserable, that you don't like, you're not going to stick to it. It's not going to work. So everything needs to have a real food approach, something that you could live with. This is about a lifestyle change. It's not about quick fixes. It's about a lifestyle change. So today, I'm going to talk about some scientific tools that you could use to understand and allow you to look at food differently. So, introduction to the macros approach. So what is the macros approach? You guys probably hear this all the time. Oh, I'm on a macros plan. What's that? What's macros? So the macros approach is knowing what your food is made of and using that information to eat better. I'm just going to repeat that. It's knowing what your food is made of and using that information to allow you to eat better. That's so important, because right away when people think macros, they think diet. No, it's knowing what the food is made up of. The whole idea is to allow you to choose foods from a place of knowledge as opposed to a place of ignorance. Because if you just don't know, you don't know. And it's important to know. And this is based off of a real lifestyle change. This is not a quick fix. Quick fixes do not work. And how anybody has tried a quick fix diet? Everybody. We all have. I've tried 50 million. They don't work. They don't work. Nobody wants to live drinking shakes all day, just like nobody wants to live having a breakfast pill, a lunch pill, and a dinner pill. It doesn't work. And I'm going to talk about why monitoring your caloric intake is not enough. We're going to talk about body mass versus body composition. So, you guys have all seen this before, but this is so weird. Look at this thing. This is the difference between 1 pound of fat and 1 pound of muscle. What's the difference? What's the difference? Size. So, how many of you ladies get freaked out? You step on the scale, oh my God, Christy, you gave me weight, oh my God. You can't worry about the number on the scale, because weight loss does not necessarily mean fat loss. So you could be getting smaller and smaller numbers on the scale. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are getting smaller looking, if that makes sense. And likewise, you could be gaining weight, but that doesn't mean you're gaining fat. So the thing is, a big reminder to you guys at the beginning, 1 pound of fat takes up so much more volume than 1 pound of muscle. So remember that. Don't fixate on the scale. These are some examples. This client right here, guess what the weight difference is between these two pictures? J1 and J5.
5 pounds.
5 pounds? Anyone?
3 pounds.
3 pounds? 2 pounds. 2 pound difference. This is a 2 pound difference. Why? She was losing fat, gaining muscle. Look at the difference in the waist size. There's inches lost there. foods. Like, obviously, like, I cropped her face off for her privacy, but like, that's a 2-pound weight loss. Some people be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose 2 pounds. No, like, that's not what it's about. It's about changing your body composition. Likewise, this client right here, what do you guys think is the weight difference between these two photos?
She probably
Gained 5 pounds.
She gained 5 pounds. She gained 5 pounds here. This is like an ectomorph. But she went from 27 injuries to 25 injuries. This is just the first 3 weeks of her program. She finished her 6 weeks being down to 23 inches. But like, she ended up gaining 5-10 pounds. So likewise, weight gain doesn't necessarily mean fat gain, because she's losing fat, but like she's gaining muscle at the same time. So I just want to like reiterate to you guys that the numbers is not the way to gauge things. It's definitely not the way to gauge things. This is another client. I think he has my note here, but this is, what do you guys think the difference in weight is between these two photos? And you know, guesses? This is a 10-pound weight gain. 10-pound weight gain. And this is the front, just to show you that like she didn't like lose her abs just because she gained 10 pounds. So some people think if I give them more calories, they like freak out, thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm eating this fat. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do with all these carbs? Like, guys, carbs is what helps build muscle. I'm gonna get into that and explain that. It's a 10-pound weight gain. Just again, just to remind you guys, that's a 10-pound weight gain, and that's a nice weight gain. I'm sure her boyfriend might agree too. So here's the problem, guys. Here's the problem with calorie counting. Like, this is the go-to system. Everybody, I mean, all of our nutrition fact labels, so many people have been into calorie counting for years and years and years, but it's misleading. And keeping track of calories as opposed to the macros, which is what the food is made up of, it can be misleading. And it's not about how many calories are in your food, but it's the breakdown of those calories. You could have 300 calories worth of potato chips versus 300 calories worth of salmon. They're not the same. You guys know that. So in order to make sense of this, it starts with an awareness of what you are eating. So the thing is, this method does not commit you to a lifelong sentence of weighing and measuring. Like, I just want to repeat that because so many people think if you take a macros approach, that means, oh my gosh, I gotta weigh every day, oh my gosh. Like, no, because everyone gets like so uptight about it sometimes. It doesn't mean that. And like, I appreciate the level of detail people put into that, but this means just from here on forward, you will be making choices from a position of knowledge as opposed to ignorance, if that makes sense. This is not meant to give somebody like a mental disorder, like, oh my gosh, I'm eating, oh my gosh, what are the macros? This is not what that is for. And this is not supposed to be you. This is what Gabriel training does. Okay, this is what we do for you. You don't need to do all that. So what are macros? Even if you haven't heard of them, term macronutrients before, the reality is you eat them every day. This is the caloric content of food. There are actually 4: protein, carbs, fat, and alcohol, which is actually a completely different class of chemicals. I'm not going to get into alcohol a whole lot today, but I'm going to follow up on YouTube with some more talk on alcohol. So, what are macros? So, macros are, again, protein, carbs, and fat, and dietary protein is 4.1 calories per gram, carbs are 4.1, and fat is 9.3. These are estimated down to 4, 4, and 9. And what this is this is what this number actually means is this is the amount of energy it takes for that food to break down into carbon dioxide and water. That's what your body does to it. Your body takes all food, it breaks it down into carbon dioxide and water. It's the heat of combustion for that to happen. And this is the actual amount of energy your body requires to do that. These are actually estimated anywhere. You'll see it's actually 4, 4, and 9. These are the real numbers. People like estimate it for your convenience. So I wanted to stop here for a second and show you guys that how do you figure out what macros are? They are found in all foods in varying amounts, and they're reported on nutrition facts labels in grams. Probably asking, why do I have 2 nutrition facts labels on here? The reason is nutrition fact labels are changing. Starting 2018, all food companies are required to make them look like this. This is what they currently look like. So we're talking about macros, we're looking at fat, carbs, and protein. Anytime you look at the nutrition fact label, if I could get them to highlight these in red, this number, and this number, those are the 3 you need to worry about. And there's some changes happening to nutrition facts labels. So one, font size. The government thinks that if the calories are bigger, so it'll help with mindfulness of what we're eating. But the reality is, if someone's going to sit down with a bag of chips, like that bag of chips is going down. Here's how big, what font is this? I don't know, maybe like 18 versus 8. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. Next is they are requiring a boost in the serving size. And they're trying to make the serving sizes more realistic. More realistic, so the reality is it's what somebody actually eats in one serving, in one sitting. And here's the big change, which I think is a great thing. Anybody notice the other change?
Added sugar.
Added sugars. Added sugars, and one more thing with added sugars, actually. There's a number here. There has been no RDA, see right here? There has been no RDA on sugar, like ever. Ever. Like no one's ever said, like, is it everything else? Protein, carbs, fat, cholesterol, blah, blah, blah. This is how much you should have per day, but nobody ever said how much sugar you should have per day. So this 20% rule, this is assuming that you're eating 2,000 calories a day. So that would be 20% giving you 100 to 100 grams of sugar a day. So yeah, but all food manufacturers are required to list how much extra sugar they're adding. I was just talking with somebody over breakfast about muscle milk and how like they add all these extra sugars. So. The thing is, the macros should add up, but they often don't. So if you look at any label, taking 8, 37, and 3, right? These grams should add up to the serving size right here. They often don't. They often don't. And you see what I'm saying? Because if all food is only made up of protein, carbs, and fat, when you add them up, it should add up. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys a couple tricks. So, all right, fat, we got 8 grams, plus carbs, 37, plus protein, 3, 48. 48 grams. The serving size is 55 grams. What are those other 7 grams? So, it's interesting. So, what are those other 7 grams? 7 grams. And it's a couple things. A couple things that are legit: moisture content and ash content. Any food, when you measure it, it's protein, carbs, fat, but they also measure the water content, which is legit. There's no caloric content of water, so that's okay. They get a pass. Ash content, that is all inorganic material. So like, if you just like burn a food until it like decomposed into like dust, it's all that extra stuff. That's not protein, carb, fat, inorganic fat. So, but then after those 2 factors, there's rounding rules, and food companies do not want you to know the rounding rules. So if anything is in there less than 0.5 grams or less, so for instance, if we go back here, this is 8, that fat could actually be 8.49. But they're just telling you 8. You know what I'm saying? So like they tweak and round things. Same with this protein. This could actually be 2.5, 2.51. And they're like, oh, it's 3. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, it's cheaper for a manufacturer to do that. If you think about that over like millions of batches a year, that adds up. So anytime that protein, carbs, and fat don't add up to the serving size, these are reasons why. And then testing rules apply. So the FDA actually requires that if you're going to report protein, that's 3 grams right here, you only need to produce a test that says it's 80, the measured value is 80% of that value. So my mental math is not working right now. But so that would mean if you tested this in a lab, so 0.8 times 3, if you tested that in a lab and your results were 2.4, pass, it's 3 grams. Close enough. So just a few things to keep in mind. So I'm not big on like processed foods per se. There are times it's convenient. I totally get it. Like we travel, press cars, you need it, whatever. Anytime you can actually just eat real whole food and you know exactly what you have, please do that. Like just because you know what you're getting, and especially for those of you who are working so hard to reach your goals. These are all reasons that you want to just know what you got. Like a banana is a banana. Like a banana isn't having protein in it. A banana isn't having fat in it. A banana is a banana, unless it's been like crazy engineered or something. But okay. So again, these are just me reiterating what is on the things, what the changes are, changing of the serving size. I kind of explained it. I'd rather just talk to you guys than read to you. But one thing is, any food manufacturers, they're all required to have that new label in effect by 2018, July 26th. And if you're a small company, if you sell less than 10 million, they give you an extra year, just so you're not wasting all your inventory. It's a big change. It's a very big change. So let's talk about protein. So the proteins that we consume as part of our diet, they're broken down into amino acids. And our body uses these in three main ways. These are building blocks. Protein is building blocks. It's what your hair is made up of, what your muscles are made up of. It repairs your tissues. It helps you make hormones. It helps you form enzymes, and it supports immune function. That's what protein's role is in your body. It's also an energy source, and it's a starting material in the production of other compounds your body needs. So protein is a building block. Protein is a building block. Now, as a chemical, everything from my fingers and nails already said this, it's vital to our proper development, bodily function. If our diets didn't contain any protein, what would happen is our bodies would start to break down our muscle. Our bodies would start to eat away at itself if you didn't eat any protein. That's not a good thing. The thing is, the body is good at storing fat and sugars, but it's not good at storing protein. So our body continually needs to replace protein. Think about that. Your body stores fat. Your body stores carbs. Your body stores carbs. Carbs in the form of glycogen and glucose that's inside your muscles. Your body actually does not store protein. You always got to replenish the protein. The word protein refers to a type of molecule that's made up of one or more long chains of amino acids. Our body needs 20 amino acids to function. The body itself can only make 11. There's 9 of them that your body can't make. And you need to get these other 9 from food. So what are these? So if you look here, these are the essential and non-essential. So the ones with the dashes, these ones with the dashes are the ones that your body can't make. The ones with the circles are the ones that the solid circles are the ones your body can't make. I'm not going to get into a lot of details. I just figured these big bright dashed circles and be like, okay, the body needs these, your body can make the rest. So nutritionally speaking though, losing fat without losing muscle, it's all about eating enough protein for the day. So if you're trying to lose body fat and you don't want to lose muscle, because muscle is what makes you look nice, it's what gives you like curves, it's what makes you look fit and lean. You just need to be making sure you're eating enough protein. Protein is the only macro that contains nitrogen. That's what's so different and interesting about it, because carbs and fat, they're only made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Protein is the only thing with nitrogen. Your body needs a positive nitrogen balance to switch over into fat burning mode. I'm going to repeat that. So this is why you need protein in your diet. In order for your body to burn fat for fuel, like all that stubborn body fat that you want to get rid of, it doesn't matter if you're getting smaller and smaller on the scale. If your body composition is not changing the way you want it to change, if you still have like stubborn spots on your body, it's because you have not been able to tap and switch over into lipolysis. In order to do that, you need a positive nitrogen balance to switch over to this mode. And protein is the only macro that can do that. Protein is the only macro that can do that. You can't get that from carbs. You can lose weight. You can get smaller any other way. Protein is the only source that's going to switch you over to burning fat. It's very important.
Now is the number the same for everybody? What's that balance? What is that balance? Like, is it?
It varies person to person.
Okay.
It varies person to person.
And it's based on height, weight, age, probably?
Height, weight, age, and a few genetic factors. But we can talk about that more. This is one thing that really bothers me, and so much so that I actually considered petitioning the FDA, as crazy as this sounds. So the FDA states that you need 50 grams of protein per day on a 2,000 calorie diet. And that's 10% of your calories are protein. And I think that that's just nowhere near enough. 50 grams of protein a day, that's just not enough in my opinion. And here's the reason why. When the FDA published this research on the 50 gram of protein per day requirement, they were basing it off of the guideline of one aspect of protein need, and that is nitrogen balance. Now, they're saying that your body only needs this for DNA synthesis, just basic bodily structure, but they are not including like protein's role as a signaling molecule to support your metabolism, the amount of protein needed to preserve muscle during weight loss, to facilitate fat loss. And there's actually no guidelines to explain how much quality protein you need for exercise, stress, blood sugar support, to help stabilize your muscle and blood sugar as you age. And I think that's a very big, huge gap in just nutrition science in general. That's a huge gap. And I think it's actually very disappointing that because if any of you guys have followed any of my plans, or if any of you guys have tracked your own macros, which I know a good portion of you do, 50 grams of protein is not a whole lot. That's not a lot. And I think you guys don't have that's nothing. And if you actually ate that way, I say this for those of you guys who listen to me on Periscope, you'd look like a noodle. You know what I mean? You just have no definition to you. And I think this is a big gap in nutrition science research, and it's very real, you guys. That I think it's disappointing that we can't rely on government agencies to tell us what to do. They'll give us every pill. They'll tell us do this stuff, but when it comes to just real foods without a label, with all the BS and the not sure exactly what you're getting, they're not going to give you much guidance there. And that's where you need to take the accountability for yourself to make the best decisions for you. So this is criteria that I came up with. So I wrote this. So this wasn't Google somewhere else. So this is what I'm recommending. So I'm recommending this range, 0.5 to 0.7 grams of protein per pound of body weight. This is for an average, healthy, sedentary adult, male or female. You don't work out, you don't really have any exercise-related goals. I would consider this a solid minimum. A solid minimum if you don't work out too much. 0.5 to 0.7. For an average, healthy adult, and you are doing some form of exercising and you are trying to improve your body a little bit, I would recommend 0.8 to 1. 1 to 1.2, this is for somebody whose goal is to get tone, maintain muscle while losing fat, increase your strength, improve performance. And 1 to 1.5, this is more for a male, just boosting it up a little bit higher on the end. Now there's exceptions to every rule, obviously, and if I talk to somebody, consult with you one-on-one, I may tweak or change that, but I feel very safe and comfortable announcing these ranges, if that makes sense. Because the thing is, not everybody is trying to get toned. Some people just want to go about their life, do their yoga, do their whatever, and that's fine. You don't need to be on a high protein diet. These are just examples of some foods that are high in protein. I would believe that a lot of this is pretty straightforward. A lot of you guys already know that. But these are just some protein sources: eggs, egg whites, beef, turkey, steak, seafood. There's some general examples. Now let's talk about fat. So dietary fat is essential to support a reduction in subcutaneous body fat. So in order to lose fat, you need to eat fat. So you can't eat no fat and expect to lose fat. It doesn't work that way. Fat is the most energy-dense nutrient, 9 calories per gram. It's useful in supporting absorption of vitamins and minerals. This is really important. I'm going to pause here for a moment. A lot of vitamins and minerals have different absorption rates. So if you look at any type of multivitamin you might be taking, you really want to read the label carefully and figure out the best way to take it, because some of those vitamins, they just get excreted within 15-20 minutes, and you're literally pissing your money away. So, literally, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's true. Some vitamins absorb better in fat, some absorb better in water. I always recommend trying to get a lot of them through just real food, through your vegetables. But for those of you who don't always have the ability to do that, multivitamins are helpful. Just know that check out the solubility of these vitamins. Fat is necessary to build membranes. This is what it does. It builds cell membranes, it prevents nerve damage, it enables muscle movement, it supports blood clotting. For long-term health, definitely monounsaturated, polysaturated are good. But despite this rather obvious fact, many people have embraced adding ample fat to their diets with reckless abandon. Because olive oil is good for you doesn't mean it's you gotta be a little handed with that. Same with avocados, they're good for you, just be careful. They add up very quickly. So unlike the other macromolecules, fat is not soluble in water. They do not form long sequences of repeating units, And the fats that you consume are molecules called triglycerides. They consist of fatty acids attached to a glycerol. So what does this mean? Trying to make this a little bit understandable. So here's some butter. This is a saturated fat. Why is it a saturated fat? It's saturated fat because all of these bonds right here, each one of these is like shorthand for a bond, which is like this stuff right here. It's a single bond. Single bonds are harder to break than double bonds. See right here, there's a double bond right here. It's a carbon-carbon double bond. It's easy to tap into that with an extra free electron that's easy to break apart. That is why at room temperature, this is a liquid, this is a solid, because this is easier to break apart. It falls apart more easily, if that makes sense. So for instance, again, this is what I just said, fatty acid is saturated while many hydrogen atoms holding it solid at room temperature, while unsaturated fats are liquid. So if you ever want to know how saturated a fat is, look at its properties at room temperature. If it's a liquid at room temperature, it's better for you in general. That's just a really quick rule of thumb. If it's solid, like, it's harder to break apart. It just makes sense. Think about like all the heat your body would need to break that apart. So if it's a liquid at room temperature, it breaks down quicker. If it's a solid, it doesn't break down as high. All right, so these are my guidelines for fat. I recommend these ranges. So 0.25 to 3. This is by far the lowest possible range I would recommend. Do not go lower than this. You're going to mess up your brain if you go farther than this because your brain actually needs fat to function. Maybe that's my problem. But this is the lowest I would recommend ever going below. And again, this is, when I say this, this is like contest prep, photo shoot prep, a very short-term physique goal. This is like the lower end threshold. Don't go lower than this. Now, this range, 0.3 to 0.4 grams of fat per pound of body weight, this is reasonable. This is reasonable, moderate. You will get contest prep-like results without going as low. So, it's just going to take a little bit more time. And then for like lifestyle, this will support lifestyle, not losing your mind, but still supporting fat loss without compromising satiety, 0.4 to 0.45. Now, there are exceptions. There are some clients I work with that do better on higher fat, lower carbs. There are exceptions to the rule where some people just cannot digest carbs. I've worked with some people who every carb, like I've never seen anything like it, just bloating and craziness. So there are exceptions. There are ways to switch things over to a keto-style diet. But in general, these are guidelines I would recommend. Again, examples of some fat: olive oil, chia seeds, flax, avocado, almonds, nuts, which is all pretty straightforward. Okay, now last but not least, carbs. Carbs provide the cells and tissues for your body the power you need to get through your activities. When you eat your carbs, your body breaks them down into individual sugar molecules and converts them into glucose. Simple carbs or sugars, they contain one or two sugar molecules, while complex carbs, they contain 3 or more. And carbs, there's 3 types of carbs: soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, and sugar. So without getting into a lot of detail and to bore you guys with this stuff, monosaccharides, it's a single unit quick energy. Examples: glucose, fructose. Fructose is the sugar found in fruit. Fructose is like just table sugar, like granulated sugar that you would find at the table. Very quick energy. Disaccharides, that's 2 sugar molecules bound together, and they begin to form a polymer. And this is like a glucose plus a fructose, a glucose plus a glucose, and so on and so forth. So lactose is, again, milk sugar, which is glucose plus a lactose. So again, this is just really the high level what they look like. This is a simple carb. 1 unit, disaccharides, 2 units, complex carbs, a lot of units. So all digestible simple sugars are eventually, they get converted to glucose in the body. So, and most types of cells use glucose as their main fuel source. So I'm going to pause here for a minute. So glucose is our body's main fuel source. So what does that mean? If you go to the gym and start working out, your body is relying on glucose. Glucose is stored inside of your muscles. And in order for you to switch into fat burning mode, your body needs to burn up all the glucose first. This is important because if right away, if you just started working out and you just started burning fat, you would not be able to survive as a human. Think about that. Because like right now, I'm standing, I'm talking, I'm moving my arms with my body, like just to do this, my body was burning fat, like you wouldn't survive. That makes sense? Your body's trying to preserve itself and store itself. And it takes you about 20 minutes to burn off all of that glucose stored in your muscles before you even get into fat burning mode. If you're going to weight train and do cardio in the same session, I always recommend you weight train first, do cardio second, because the time you're weight training, you can be burning off that glycogen. Number one, your lifts are going to be more powerful, you have more energy to be powerful during your lifts, and then by the time you get to your cardio, your body will be drained of glucose, your body will be like, okay, I need energy. Where am I going to get the energy? Let me use the fat. That's when real fat loss starts happening. The thing is though, if you eat too much glucose, that's going to be stored. It's going to be stored because, again, our body doesn't store protein. Our body stores carbs and it stores fat. It's going to store it as glycogen. And then later, that glycogen will get stored to body fat. It's basically like, imagine you're at the gas station and you're putting gas into the car. The tank's full. So I want you guys to picture this every time you eat too much BS. Like you're at the gas station, you're putting gas into the car, the tank's already full. Where's that gas going to go? It's just going to overflow. Picture you're a fool at the gas station, gasoline spilling all over the place. Where's that going to go? Your body's just going to it's going to go wherever your body goes.
That happens to me.
It's just like, food is nice and everything, and you should enjoy it, but it's also like too much. You're going to start like causing problems, and those problems are. You could have one of those moments where you're like, F it, I'm fine. Like if you do that too long, you're going to start regretting it, and you're going to feel like crap. You're not going to like the way you look. You're not going to like the way you feel.
Been there.
Yeah. You're not gonna, and it's a bad cycle. It's a bad cycle. So just keeping it in check, like staying in a range, is so much better for you. Like even just mentally, as opposed to just going off the rails. Because like excessive behaviors, I know we're talking about behavior here, about science, but like it's not good. Like swinging so hard one way and swinging so hard another way, they're both bad behaviors. You know what I mean? Like going super restrictive is just as bad as like going over the top. So like. That's not good for your psyche, that's not good for your body, and you're going to be miserable at the end of the day. So again, these are ranges that I recommend for carbs. And this is for sedentary individuals with insulin resistance. Some people can't tolerate high levels of carbs. So that's why I recommend these low ranges. It's for people who just cannot tolerate insulin. And I have worked with people like that who needed to compensate with higher fats as a result to their insulin resistance. Now this is a broad range right here. This is ideal for dropping body fat. The main factor is someone's activity level. If you're going to be more active, I'm going to give you more carbs. If you're not going to be that active, give you less carbs. Again, I'm not going to be at the gas station fueling you up with more and more fuel that you're not going to use. It's just foolish. It's foolish to do so. Here's another range if you're a little bit trying to like bulk. Athletes, fitness instructors, people who are physically active all day. I've had some clients who are like, if you're like a construction worker, a professional athlete, someone who's like teaching 5 classes a day, like they're gonna look at me like, what, 100 grams of carbs? What am I gonna do? Like, no, you gotta eat more, obviously, if you're teaching 5 hours a day. And then even more than that, if you're an endurance athlete, if you're a marathon runner, a triathlete, you're seeking to build muscle or bulk, you can have as much of 2 to 3 times your calories per pound of body weight, even more. Michael Phelps, he eats like 10,000 calories a day. But he's burning, like it's his job. It's his job. And he's a big dude. He's big. So, again, some examples of healthy carbs.
Society judges women very harshly, and I want to change that. I am starting the Gage Girl Scholars Program today because I believe that women can be sexy, they can be smart and strong at the same time.